All right, welcome to episode 24 of the Long Toss here on the Walkoff. This is the Ken Griffey Jr. episode. A lot of notable ball players have worn the number 24. Miguel Cabrera, Manny Ramirez. We're going with Ken Griffey Jr. If you have an argument there, let us know in the comments or the live chat. A lot of good 24s, but we'll move on from there already. Lots to talk about today. We've got the Kansas City Royals Jays series review. Charlie Montoyo is out. Schneider is in. Now that we're a few days into the new Schneider era, we're going to check where everyone's at, how everyone is feeling about that. Kevin Biggio quietly having himself a little bit of a standout season. Should he be seeing more playing time or continue to just ride what's working? Santiago Espinal has been named to the All-Star game. Good for him. I believe Jordan Romano was added today as well. So we'll touch base there. Juan Soto rejected a $440 million offer from the Washington Nationals and is officially on the trading block. So we'll speculate like everybody loves to speculate on that wild story there. Theo Epstein has proposed limiting the active roster to 11 pitchers. We'll get people's thoughts on that and some other rule changes. And then we're going to measure shortstops and quality of shortstops. The way we're going to do that is we're going to wave our magic wand, and we're going to say you can have any shortstop in the league and lock them up for 8 years, $250 million. Where do you rank your shortstops under those circumstances? Because for me, I feel like Bo Bichette's still, if not a top 5, got to be pretty darn close. MLB with another rule change coming. They're putting chalk lines behind second base. We're going to talk about that in an attempt to ban the shift. And then we're going to talk the home run derby, the lineup, and the addition of legends in the form of Albert Pujols and Miguel Cabrera. So lots to talk about today. Jam-packed list for the panel. We've got Scott Belford making his return. Welcome, Scott. How you doing? Scott? Scott's gone?
Or not.
Scott's out of here. All right. Good timing for Scott. I swear he was here. He'll be back. We've got Chris Henderson of Blue Jays Journal. Will be joining us in a bit here. Andrew Stoughton as well. We are joined by White Sox expert Rick from Rick Talks Baseball. We've got Joel and we've got Jen. Today's episode and every episode brought to you by Team Oh My, Out Hustle My Yesterday. And there's a text from Scott, of course, saying, sorry, in waiting room. Good for you, Scott. Team Oh My, Out Hustle My Yesterday. We are doing a bad taco design contest right now. Get your artwork submitted to us on Twitter, Instagram, in the Discord, everywhere there. We are partnered with Oh My Apparel to get those t-shirts, whatever you want, hoodies, ball caps made up at ohmy_apparel, teamohmy.com. Out hustle your yesterday today. All right. And lastly, before we get to it, patreon.com/the Walkoff Podcast. Big shout out to our Patreon supporters. So David, Abraham, Michael, Sarah, John, Simon, Rashid, Joshua, Jeremy, Ian, Dunedin, Bob, and now John and Wyatt have joined the Patreon this week as well. John and Wyatt, please reach out to me and let me know your username in Discord for the gold nameplate in Discord. $4 a month. Support us on Patreon or don't. It's up to you. Okay, let's hit the waiting room.
Adam, how embarrassing for you, Adam, to forget that I'm here as well. How embarrassing for you. Do we need to start all over again? Do we need to
Let's count us back in. Craig, you're the late addition. You were not in my show notes until I saw your name in the waiting room. And Craig Ballard, welcome back to the show. It's been a long time. How you doing?
Adam, you have a get out of jail free card happening right now because you posted a thirst trap TikTok the other day of you shirtless, and it's all I've been watching for a couple of days. So in my books, you can do no wrong, so we're all good.
Thank
I
you,
somehow
Craig.
missed that.
Oh,
Yeah, me too.
okay. Joel didn't
I did
miss
not.
it.
I definitely did not miss it. It's
I'm
hard to
surprised you
miss
didn't
when-
share it with me, Joel.
I will. I'll
man.
send it right over.
It was a hot summer afternoon, and we'll just leave it there. But yeah, check us out on the old TikTok if you want to see me with my shirt off. All right, Scott, you missed quite the intro, but welcome back.
Yes.
Nice
I'm
to see
sorry.
you. That's all right.
Yeah, it's good to see all of you.
All right, and we've got Andrew and Chris in the waiting room, so we'll let those two in as well, and then we'll get to it. And there we go. Andrew and Chris, welcome. We got started without you, but it's been a bit of a shit show for the first 7 minutes anyway, so you haven't missed much. All right. Nothing but top-notch quality here on the walk-off. All right, so that's all good. How are each of you doing? Chris?
Still above the dirt.
There you
Good
go.
for Sunday. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and I just did you guys hear that the Blue Jays fired Charlie Montoyo? Because I just heard this. This is crazy. I'm still processing it. But,
I'm not prepared for this show.
All right. Well, let's start with the Kansas City Royals series review. The Kansas City Royals came to town, brought half their team with them, and still managed to take a win from the Blue Jays. So, Scott, let's start with you. What were your thoughts on this series? 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Still doesn't feel like it was good enough, but
Well, coming home to play Philadelphia and Kansas City, I felt like they needed to take 5 out of those 6 games, and they did. It wasn't really the confidence builder that I was hoping for. I don't feel better about this team after this 5-1 stretch, but I mean, they got it done, I guess. Is that an answer?
I guess, yeah. I don't really want to spend too much time on this series because it was a pretty depressing watch. I'd rather be a little bit optimistic and looking forward. But if anybody else has anything they want to add, any key
The biggest thing
takeaway
is
that
the
you noticed?
All-Star break is here. We did it.
We did it.
It's
We
time.
made it. That's a great point. Scott. We did it. We made it. A bunch of All-Stars on this team this year. I guess let's talk. Andrew mentioned it right off the top, but let's just get right into it and get it out of the way. Speaking of out of the way, Charlie Montoyo is gone. John Schneider promoted on an interim basis. How's everyone feel about this? I mean, we don't want to speak ill of the dead with Charlie Montoyo being gone, but was this a necessary move, and do you think this is for the better? Craig, let's start with you.
First of all, and I'd like to real quick just throw out, guy, we still have nightmares about that Marcus Semien throw against Detroit. The Palacios missing that ball against Detroit last season. There are all kinds of games that the Jays should have won last season against teams they should have beat that they didn't. So all glass half full this 3 out of 4 against Kansas City and say, I'm way on board with it, just to mention that. But as far as Montoyo, I just don't think there's any doubt about it. I think you can point to Santiago Espinal, Alejandro Kirk, and Alek Manoah as 3 players on a 26-man roster that are playing to their potential. I've not seen development. In fact, you could argue with Slim Daddy Vladdy Bo with several Blue Jays, we've seen steps backwards. And if any of us were working at your 9-to-5 job and we're part of a 26-person department, and 3 of those 26-person department were performing and developed properly, that manager is not going to be long for that job. So I absolutely thought it was the right move. I am concerned that it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, because I'm very concerned that John Schneider will be that different from Montoya, but we'll let that go ahead and play itself out. I would imagine the guys they want to interview didn't have any plans that the Blue Jays job would be available. Like, I imagine the people on their list just aren't available to really deep dive the Blue Jays offer right now. So we probably have to have Schneider for the rest of this season. But as far as moving on Charlie Montoyo, honestly, I do feel it was the right move.
All right, who's on the same page with Craig there? I couldn't agree more with Charlie Montoyo.
oh, you want the same page? Okay, well then I'll bide my time then, I suppose.
All right.
I felt the timing was weird.
Me
I
too.
don't know.
Yep.
Craig kind of touched on it there too. I mean, they did all this talking about how collaborative this club is and the fact that, Atkins is the one who set this all up. and you've got John Schneider and Charlie Montoyo and Guillermo Martinez and P. Walker, and supposedly this is a group decision in everything they're doing, right? Everything is collaborative. So it just feels weird that they're kind of like cutting the head off the body, and then the body is now managing the team. But that said, they won 1 of 9 games. Like, I was in Seattle for that West Coast swing, and it was god awful. And I mean, I know teams are up and down. It's 162 games, blah blah blah. But it was a rough stretch, and I guess they felt they had to do something.
What? Because I agree with you. I mean, collaborative process. We've talked all for 3 years at this point. Charlie Montoyo, the front man, the puppet, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what he actually did, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I just mean, like, if we do have experts for every sort of a decision, like what is he actually doing, if not some like emotional, intangible leadership? And that clearly was an issue. So for me, Jen, you step in. Go ahead.
Well, so I found the timing of this really strange. I think it was inevitable, simply because that's the way that sports goes. If a team is underperforming, it's the manager or the coach who's out first, and then you go from there. But you've got these two halves. Like, so they hired him when they originally interviewed for the role, and people were stunned that Charlie Montoyo was the guy they picked, right? Mm-hmm. That's came out of left field, literally. He led a young team. He managed to guide them through all of the COVID, nonsense and playing elsewhere and all of everything that went along with that. And they missed the playoffs last season. If they did not think that he, had enough in him to take the group the next step further, then why not fire him at the end of last season? That's what I don't get, right? They extended him. Okay, cool. That suggests that he's your guy, again, just to get to this point and then let him go. That's the part that I don't think I understand. Because if you only hired him to get the young guys to a certain point and you didn't think he had any more in him beyond that, then he should have been gone at the end of last season. Right? I think in a lot of ways, he's a scapegoat, to be completely honest. I think that this roster is flawed in a number of different ways. And I think we've seen those flaws exposed through the first half of the season. Combine that with player underperformance, I think there's plenty of blame to go around here for where the team is right now.
I would agree with you. Also, Atkins isn't going to fire himself. And Shapiro are best buds. Totally. Yes, he deserves a lot of the blame when it comes to roster construction. Sure. It's kind of a dead end talking point and I'm not saying that you're suggesting Atkins should be fired. Obviously, he deserves a ton of the blame.
No, but if you're going to fire the manager, if you've deemed that he is not a good enough leader and the team has not performed under him, then from here, things need to change. So go out and get people, fill those holes, right? And push forward. That's what I think. You can't fire the manager and then not do anything else.
Oh, I don't think this is going to be a quiet July for Ross Atkins.
Either.
I think there's going to be some real fireworks coming.
Me too.
I hope so. Hope so. All right. Anything else to add on Charlie Montoyo for anything, or do we want to talk John Schneider and whether or not we think he is the right man for the job?
I mean, I can go off if you
Andrew
want.
Jeremy Brett.
No, not really. No, everybody had I think things that I tend to agree with. I see it in a quite a different way. I think the stuff about the development stuff. Sure, I don't know if that's the lens that they would be looking at this sort of transaction in. I think a lot of it for me in trying to process it and trying to look at what has been said since this happened is that the players not tuned him out, but I think that it's important to get buy-in from players. Like if you're, and this has been a thing that we've talked about for a long time, coming myself from like the analytics side of making that headway into the sports industry, where buy-in is such an important thing. And I think too, my friend Justin Bourne, who's a guy on you'll see him on hockey broadcasts, he's on the Fan 590, who played and had the cachet and had like the ability to not just understand the analytical stuff, but to be able to like speak to the players in the way that they can. And I'm not saying that Charlie couldn't do that, but when you see some of the comments the players have made, I think that communication is a bit of a thing that they've sort of hit on, and it's hard to parse and man, my parsing skills did not go very well this last week. I'll say that. I'll be honest with that. But I think that you kind of see. I think Gregor Chisholm on the Star wrote about how players came up to Mike Wilner, his colleague, privately, and was like, "Is Charlie ripping us in the media? Like, is he ripping the pitching staff to you?" He mentioned Kevin Gossman not being as super on board with the defensive shifting, especially in the outfield, which has kind of cost him a bit. This in a thing that I've been trying to write for the last several days. It brought me by mind to there was a quote in an MLB.com piece by David Adler, I think in May. George Springer also was just like, well, somebody's going to do the shifting that we're doing, and you could just like there wasn't that kind of buy-in there. And some of the stuff that I disagree with people who never, got on board with Charlie and didn't like saw him as too timid or saw him as, not a proper baseball guy. There's so much that we don't see that I think that's a real tough thing to say. But I do think that, you kind of do have to have, like, the players are human as well, and sometimes they can get some of those perceptions that fans have had. And when you see guys like Jordan Romano saying, like, talking about John Schneider being like, I felt I could go into his office and talk to him about anything at any time, and he knows how to keep it light but really get into me. And I think Gregor's piece also said that some players were concerned about like there not being a players only, or there being a players only meeting, and Charlie not addressing the team when the skid was sort of happening. And so to me, I think that the players probably kind of in a way drove the bus on this, more so than like the things that are kind of cathartic to a lot of the fans who are like, oh, finally the bongo man is gone. And I think another element is that I think John Schneider is a commodity. And I think you heard his name come up when Joe Girardi lost his job in Philadelphia earlier. And I think, or it could have, I cannot remember. It could have been Joe Madden because he had the connection with Perry Manassian, because Schneider's been in the Jays organization forever. The Angels were looking for a guy, but he's a guy whose name is coming up and is a commodity on the market, where you can't retain a bench coach if somebody's offering him a manager job. So the Blue Jays may have also felt that they had a window in which to get John Schneider into the big chair before another team steals him. And I think that there's that kind of thread that goes through this. And so I don't know that there are their guys that they are looking for and are waiting for to interview in the offseason, that this is an interim tag that is going to only last until the end of the year. Like, I think John Schneider might be their guy.
I love the point about the communication. I'm a Miami Dolphin fan, and out of nowhere in this offseason, you'll all remember, football fans, out of nowhere, we were stunned to see that Brian Flores was fired from Miami. That was a stunner. Now all the stories came out. Well, he communicated very poorly with management. He communicated very poorly with his staff. He communicated very poorly with his players. It was all about communication. This day and age, how does a manager making X amount of money communicate effectively to these multimillionaires? In baseball's case, 26 multimillionaires. So I think the point about the communication is bang on. If John Schneider is going to improve that, then I think Andrew's onto something here, that the Blue Jays could be looking at this guy to be their long-term fix.
One thing I am really curious about with this idea of John Schneider being the long-term fix, and I'm all for it. I do like John Schneider as a manager. If this team doesn't make the playoffs, do they clean house? Like, do they bring in a new manager who brings in his guys and just start all over?
I think they've shown themselves to be a little more ruthless than we maybe gave them credit for.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, I give them
100%. Yeah, me too. I was shocked.
I was surprised that they did it on the Wednesday, right? Rather than before the Tuesday game. Like, they did it after a win. I just thought that was a little odd.
Is it because
they
were all
saw them
Monday?
win? They saw them win a game and were like, oh man, they've got 4 games against the Kansas City Royals AAA team. Like, how do we fire him if this is a 6-game win streak? And then we're just like,
Maybe.
well, let's just do it.
I
I
think
mean,
Craig
the
brings
Vlad
up
thing
a,
happened though too, right? The Vlad thing and the replay happened
That's
after
right.
that too.
I do
which,
think
you know,
Craig brings up a good point though too about the Budzinski funeral that all the management and coaching staff was at. Pretty tough move to on the flight back home from a funeral also fire your manager. Yeah, I don't know. Scott brings up a good point though too. Like if they had made up their mind after that Seattle series and then recognized that like, well, we can't really fire him after a 6-game winning streak potentially. I don't know. It's a tough spot to be in. Okay, so how's everybody feeling about John Schneider? Andrew's on board with maybe removing the interim tag after this year. Does that feel like a good vibe? I know Scott kind of questioned like if we miss the playoffs, clean house. But what does John need to do to remove that interim tag? Like we talked about it with Charlie. If the Jays missed the playoffs, that this was the end of the road for him. He didn't get that far. But what is the threshold for John Schneider retaining this job moving forward? Chris, let's start with you.
You know, I think Andrew made a good point. I think that John Schneider was starting to be recognized as a candidate for other teams, and when he gets to that point, and the Blue Jays feel that he's somebody they want to retain in the organization, there may have been some pressure to start thinking about that sort of thing. And so I think it's kind of unfair to. I know he's got the interim tag right now, but I think this is kind of his job for now. And unless he proves that he shouldn't have it, like unless there's like a massively drastic downfall throughout the rest of the season, then I would be really surprised if he didn't keep the job for next year. I think he's got enough of a pedigree, and you look at the relationship that he's got with the young guys that, you know, he came up through the system with guys like Vlad and Bo and Biggio and all those guys. So there's a relationship that's really valued. You hear the way those guys are talking about him in the media already. And I think this is a relationship that they had, you know, I don't want to say planned to happen at some point, because I don't think that it's necessarily fair, like to think that Charlie always had, you know, this ticking time bomb waiting for him in his office. But I think Schneider was the obvious heir apparent, and I think that they're going to give him a fair shake, and a half season walking into this situation maybe isn't a fair shake.
I'm a
Out of
little less.
curiosity, Chris. Sorry, just out of curiosity, Chris. Do you think if they don't make the playoffs, he still gets given another year?
Well, I mean, I think it's unfair to blame him. And so I think it's a wasted resource if they really value Schneider, which I think they do. Blaming him for walking into this halfway through the season and would be just, I think that's poor asset management, whether you're talking players or coaches or anybody. So I don't think that they, unless it goes really, really poorly, I don't think that I think he'll be back in the fall unless they give him a reason not to.
I'm less interested in his communication and reputation with the younger players. I'd be more curious as to what the vets think. Because, you know, he already has a history and a relationship with Vlad, Bo, Cavan, etc., Lourdes. And so, you know, that's already been established. But veteran players, particularly ones that have played on, you know, playoff teams or championship teams, I'd be curious what they say. What did they think of Montoyo and his communication and his leadership style? And what do they think of Schneider? I think that to me is more important, because then you're hearing from people who have actually played for other organizations and have a little bit more of a wider view of things. I think the only way Schneider might not be at the helm next year is if this front office has a huge July, right? Goes out, fills the holes, and the team still somehow underperforms. I think, and it would have to be a massive underperformance for them to perhaps consider cleaning house and bringing other people in.
Is 87 wins an underperformance?
Pardon?
Is 87 wins an underperformance?
I think so, especially if, I mean, especially if they, if they go, like you said, it's a little bit difficult because he's inherited the record that they currently have. He was also a big part of decision makings probably that went into that record though, right? So, I know Charlie would have been probably the one with the final say, but Schneider would have had his voice heard about all of these different decisions. So part of the blame for their current state, if it rested with Charlie, you could say it rests with the entire coaching staff. So, if they go out and get reinforcements in particular, and by reinforcements, like I mean that they really fill these gaps, and they still fall short, and it's still just like, what are we watching on this field? Then I think he could potentially be gone, right? Because they think,
why did we even go out and get Juan Soto?
So would any of the coaching staff be retained then? Is it possible they get rid of any of the coaching staff after the season and maybe keep Schneider?
That's interesting.
Who would you, if you were looking at coaching staff and you're looking at the biggest problems with this team, like, does Pete Walker survive because of his past successes? Are you looking at the hitting coach? Or are you looking at Martinez because of the underperformance of several key offensive players? Like, who would be in your crosshairs?
I mean, because Craig brought up a good point, development. I mean, coaches need to be looked at too. You can't just look at the manager.
Yeah, I thought Jen made a great point about what the veterans think and what they might think about this. And this goes back to what I was kind of saying before also. And it was like, I've rejected this kind of thinking for a long time because it's really cynical to have thought, because I think it was 2018 when New Hampshire won the Eastern League Championship with Schneider as the manager. Montoyo's first year was 2019. They promoted Schneider to the big league staff very quickly. And the cynical view was, eventually this is the guy. And I think that if you follow that cynical view, it's that, a reason why they would have not just given him the job if they really liked him in the first place was that he may have lacked that credibility. And now John Schneider has had those years in the big leagues. He's a big league guy. He knows the league. He knows the players. And it's a different thing, I think, to elevate him to that job now than it would have been to have elevated him from New Hampshire in 2019. And then also to have, if that's really the guy that they identified as who they wanted, would have there would have been a lot of losing, and there would have been moments where he may have been the guy to have to go, as we've seen here with Charlie. And I also would say that another thing that I was mentioning the quotes earlier, George Springer, I think, said, like, we're like talking about the room, saying that, we're like, the players are the ones who, it's the players' room. They have fun in the room. And I thought that was kind of an indictment of the whole concept of, like, the manager as the leader of team vibes and, like, as the guy who is sort of like marshaling the parade. And that it was sort of an admission, like, we want the manager to manage. And I think they feel good about Schneider being that kind of guy. I also think, sorry to belabor this, but I thought it was very interesting that we saw footage from inside the clubhouse when Santiago Espinal was named an all-star, and what they did there. And it was just like, have we seen a lot of that before? Like, that's an interesting change to me in a very subtle way. I don't know what it means, but I don't think I've ever seen those guys sitting around in that room in their private moment on the. It
was the Blue Jays who took that video and then released it, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, that could happen under any manager.
Sure, but
right?
that it didn't before, and now that's okay. I wonder.
Maybe old man Montoyo had a rule, right? And
no parties.
I'm not averse to it being Schneider full time. I think the points you guys are bringing up, that they see him as an asset and they needed to make sure, hey, that this remains our asset. I think that's brilliant. What's sort of informing my thoughts on this is, and I should have mentioned this, is we've seen Shapiro and Atkins go big game hunting before. They got Terry Francona to go from Boston to Cleveland. We've seen them go big game hunting before for their manager when they thought that their playoff window was really open and legitimate. So I think that's where I'm coming from. And you really got me thinking that way when you said, well, what's the minimum for Schneider then? And we asked about 87 wins. If 87 wins comes along with a wild card spot, then I still have to think that that's okay.
You have to look at the division they're playing in too. So
Though I would say that with Francona, I was looking into this. Francona and Sandy Alomar Jr., who took over for Manny Acta for the last 6 games of that year, those were the only 2 guys they interviewed. Like, they had identified Francona, like, to your earlier point, like they had a guy in mind who, you know, was doing his TV thing, because that was the year when Bobby Valentine was in Boston, and like he wasn't technically available. They did, you know, they waited, but it was like you could just tell from the interviewing process. You know, they kind of knew who they wanted to have anyway, and maybe there is somebody in mind. That's, you know, the best way to predict their future behavior is to look at their past behavior.
All right, let's shift slightly. We mentioned Espinal being named to the All-Star game. Congrats to him. We'll talk that more in a second. But just with the vibe shift with broadcasting that, whether that's a new level of access that they've decided to go with, the vibe on this team feels like it is in a transition period, right? And this is the time to make any big changes, whether it is that access for the Espinal announcement or other things. One thing I'm curious about, and I'd love to get everybody's opinion on, is the home run jacket. Because this is something that, you know, most fans have enjoyed for the last season and a half. But it gets tiresome when we're down 8-1 against Oakland, and then we're watching Espinal put on the home run jacket. Like, is it time for the home run jacket to go? Or does this, for me, it just feels like, I don't know. If I'm way off base with this and everybody loves the home run jacket, I'll shut up and move on. But
I have, you know, I guess I'll capture my feelings pretty simply. Like, every time I see fans complain about the home run jacket, I think, is that seriously like the worst thing that you have going on in your day?
Yep.
That's bothering you. Just like, the only reason I would care at all is if it's like some sort of cultural like thing in the clubhouse that they feel that they need to like make the players be more serious or something, and that they feel that that's the key to winning. But like, I don't think that's the key to winning in baseball in 2022 anymore. Like, I think that kind of old school thinking isn't working so well in Chicago this year with old Tony. So, I mean, it's,
I don't have. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, to me, every time I see people get upset with that, I'm just like, man, you clearly don't read the news.
My only beef with it is when it's on, when we're wearing it, when we're losing, or when the team is struggling. Like, I don't know, growing up playing sports, you know, if your team's down in hockey 6-0 and then you score a goal in the third period, I'm not going to ride my stick like a horse down center ice at the end of it, right? And it just feels a little bit like that. Like, why are we really this pumped about hitting a home run in the 8th inning when we've lost 6 games in a row and we're down 12-2 right now?
I would love that if a team down 6 scores a meaningless goal and rides this team. That would be awesome.
Well, I mean, what negative does the jacket really bring? I mean, it's optimism, it's energy. Wouldn't you want that being down? I mean, I'd rather not have them sulking, you know what I mean, in the dugout. I'd rather have them have the upbeat kind of attitude, even if they are losing.
What's more ridiculous, putting on a jacket or going for a ride in a laundry cart?
Mm-hmm. Beat me to it.
Sure.
One's more ridiculous. Now, hold on. So Adam, there are things I'll admit, there are certain things that I could do without. I could do without the ice bath after every win. Mm-hmm. I could do without that. I don't know if Teoscar's still doing the sunflower seed shower. I could do without that. It seems a little too individualistic. The jacket is a team thing. They took pride in putting where every single person had been born onto that jacket. And I think it is way classier than any laundry cart or gold chain or whatever the heck else other teams are doing.
The White Sox.
Adam, I agree to an extent that maybe if things are really going poorly, maybe you decline to put it on, perhaps. You know, like,
well, I don't want to see anybody declining to put it on. I think if one player declines to put it on, we retire it forever.
At the moment, but retiring it forever, why?
Yeah,
Like-
go ahead, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say I've lost the last 5 minutes of this conversation. I'm pairing the shirtless Adam TikTok with him talking about riding his stick around the ice. So
Part 2, you're ruining part 2.
I was just gonna say I'm ambivalent to the jacket, or have been until literally John Schneider became the manager, because it seemed like such a symbol for people who are like, now they're finally going to get serious. They're going to have this red ass guy who's going to come in, and there's going to be accountability. And it's like, this is a clear sign, whether it's good or right or not. This is a lot of things are going to stay the same, and I think that a lot of people made those points earlier, which is what it's going to be fascinating. But I liked that as a way of just the hockey analogy thing. I don't care for so much. I'm okay. Like I said, I'm okay with riding the stick. But also it sort of reminds me. I don't know why, but this way, it strikes me. I remember watching an Iggy Pop interview talking about his breakdown of his relationship with David Bowie, and just being like, they got to the point where he's like, well, I don't like your shirt, and stuff like, and it's like that. It kind of feels like I don't like your shirt moment between Jay's fans and the players, where it's like, I'm just sick of you not being what you should be, and I'm just sick of the whole thing. And it's the whole season has sort of worn thin on a lot of people and has not been. I don't know if that's because of the expectations. I don't know if it's because of the Yankees being just running away with it, going wire to wire like they're probably going to do. But it's not been what's promised, which I think was a triumph. It's been a bit of a drag.
Andrew, I'm asking seriously. Because Adam's talking about when it's 8-1, a home run makes it 8-2, and there's the flexing. And I'm asking you seriously, because they go down, they put on the jacket, they go down to the end, and they flex, and they take the picture. Do those pictures get sold by Jay's Care and stuff like that? And I'm serious. Is there a really good meaning behind this that we can actually even further get behind? Do you know anything about anything along those lines, Andrew?
I don't think they're doing anything nearly as cool as that. No.
I think we would have seen that come across Twitter by now, for sure. Yeah,
hell of an idea though for him, Craig. You should forward that one on.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I'll leave it on this, and then we can get to Joel, because I can see Joel's rubbing his hands together here.
I silent for 42 minutes.
Yeah, he has.
Forgot you were here.
Very silent man.
I really do not have a problem whether it is the laundry cart basket or the jacket, or if someone wants to, rather than bat flip, ride their bat like a golf club in Happy Gilmore down to first base. I'm all good with the positivity and whatever, but it just, again, feels like when we're losing, we're celebrating an individual performance while the team is struggling. And I just think that maybe that is a distinction we could do. If we could just tweak the rule on the home run jacket, we don't bust it out when we're down by 10 runs.
I don't disagree with you.
What
I don't disagree with you.
Said, Adam
would you hand out the
always-
jacket for, though? Personally, Adam.
Sorry,
Adam
go
has
ahead,
always
Scott, then I'll
said,
get to that, Rick.
Let the kids play unless they're losing.
That is my go-to motto.
Yeah,
Yes.
go-to line. Let them play unless they're losing.
Unless they're losing. All right, Rick, what was that?
When would you hand it out personally if you're the coach? I mean, what would you say? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know what the right area is. I mean, I don't want to see it when we're up by 10 runs either, to be honest.
But see, that's, I think, is something that players themselves need to police.
Sure. George Springer
Right?
needs to call a team meeting and go, when are we going to hand this thing out? I mean, I do like it when the Alec Manoah pitches 8 shutout innings and then he gets to put it on, even though it wasn't a home run. I think that's cool, right? But again, we're probably winning if that's the case. If a pitcher's getting the jacket, it's probably we're either winning or in a close game, right? I don't know what the right answer is, but it is kind of cringy to be like, hey, the team really fucking sucks today, but I did good.
How about you don't put it on during the game and you put it on after the game?
That's
You
a
know,
great
this
And
is
idea.
go out to dinner in it?
No, this is the person, this is the player of the game type situation who gets the jacket like a game ball that you do in football, right? I'm going to go the exact opposite route. What do the Yankees do when they hit a homer? Do they have one?
Who cares?
I think
Who
Josh
cares?
Donaldson throws sand in Anthony Rizzo's
I like
face.
Yeah.
But do they? Right? Do they have we can't think of one. We can think of San Diego spin chain, Boston Red Sox
They
pushing the
throw
cart.
feces at each other, Joel.
Sure. They're
That's what they
the
do.
best baseball team that
Don't
any
they
of
have
us have
the
ever
bubble
seen
gum
right
bath?
now. Okay, they're the
Yeah.
best baseball team that any of us have ever seen right now.
They all quickly shave
Yeah.
their faces.
What if?
I'm quite old. I've seen better baseball teams.
Not at this point. At this point, aren't they the best record to this point in the season ever?
2001 Mariners. I'll
No,
take
the
it.
I know, but
Yeah,
I'm just saying
yeah.
for this point of the season, right? We're talking about to this point in the season.
I will not concede this point, but you may
Okay.
be right.
All right.
Yeah.
So, how about when you know what's cooler than jumping around and being all amazing when you hit a home run? Not doing that. Hitting it, put your head down, get around the bases, be professional, because the other team sees that. The other team sees you taking joy when the game isn't over, and it fuels them, and they go out and they whoop you. We're
Joel just
too
became
happy
a
right now.
70-year-old man.
We're too happy. That team is way too happy to be where they are right now.
Entirely different scenario, entirely different sport, entirely different scenario. So this is not going to quite match up. But when during their championship season, when the Raptors won the semifinals and there was no celebration, they walked off deadpan, right?
You
Because
hit that home run, that grand
that I
slam
think
home run.
that was badass.
It's badass.
That
And
was
it sends a
badass.
message
And every
that this
fan
happens
loved it.
all the time. This isn't just some special moment.
Yeah.
And
When we do these amazing things, this is routine.
And this
And just don't get overly pumped on yourself for some second inning home run when nothing matters at that point. You know when you can celebrate like that? A walk-off home run. There's literally a moment in baseball where the game is over, but you're still playing. And you can be as cocky as you want because the game's over. Why not
But
save
Rick,
it for that?
White Sox fans like when Tim Anderson bat flips after a double.
You can
right?
be the extravagant individual that you want,
I
but
do
this
see what
team
Joel's
isn't
saying.
winning like that. This team doesn't have
I
that.
agree.
They're too happy. They're laughing and hugging in the middle of the game when they should be focusing and preparing for what's to come.
I think
You know,
we're
I
gonna-
love the let baseball be the super fun game that we don't think about and care about within the moment.
Except
Yep.
You can
That's
go
right.
too far, and I think the Jays have gone too far with being happy when there's no real reason to be happy right now.
It's not
Hey,
just
look,
the
Steve
Jays either.
Simmons.
Yeah. No,
And I joke, Steve. I'm sure you're not watching, but if you're watching, Steve and I actually get along quite well. So I'm joking.
that's too bad.
I'll
bad.
call him an idiot. That's fine. If you're watching, Steve, you suck.
See what happens, Adam, when you don't let him talk for like 45
I know
minutes?
he built up way too much steam, didn't he?
Way too much steam.
It's like Yellowstone.
Well, somebody had to
Okay,
go against it.
there. The one thing that I do want to say to this point is that I think every team is different, and I think the culture of every clubhouse is different, and what's going to make every team tick is going to be different. So, like, I imagine the Yankees and like Garrett Cole and Rizzo and Judge and those guys like meeting for their morning milk and white toast and their white gotch, like,
Shave,
you know what I mean? Like,
clean shave,
so
right? Get that facial hair
yeah.
off.
So what works for the Yankees doesn't necessarily work for like Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and like we've all been raised in different ways and different countries and all that sort of thing. And so what makes us tick might be different for every group. So to me, once again I'll come back to what I said before. I think the fans spend way more time like thinking about this than it needs to be thinking. And if the Blue Jays are actually having meetings about their jacket, then that's like shame on them for like wasting time on that when there's way more important shit to be talking about.
I'm more into ice baths in May. What are you ice bathing in May for? You won a game in May.
Get off my lawn, man.
I just think they're trying to
truth
inject personality into baseball because that's what you're seeing. They want to make the game more interesting. That's what I think.
I think too here, the truth is if this team, instead of going 1-9 on that West Coast swing, had been 6-4, a lot of this wouldn't even be being talked about right now, right? Like when a team is struggling to the level that the Blue Jays were struggling at, it's infuriating as a fan. And we're masochists. I can't help myself. You'd think I could just turn it off and be a normal human being, but no, absolutely not. I need to let it emotionally affect me. So like, I know I'm not alone. So fans are like just grabbing at anything that they're like, well, maybe this is it, maybe that, right? Like,
It's human nature.
See, I'm dead inside, so I highly recommend it.
We're such masochists. We have people arguing like there should be less fun in our entertainment product here.
Yeah. No, I'm just like this situation. You got an 8-1. You're losing 8-1, and you hit a home run to make it 8-2, and you got to put that thing on. I'm like, dude, I'm not putting that thing on right now. I'm coming in. I'm putting my helmet down, and I'm realizing the game is 8-2. There should be no joy.
Well, and that's what I meant by players maybe just not putting it on.
Yeah, I'm not talking about
that. There doesn't need to be a team
I'm talking
meeting.
about understanding where fun belongs and when to be completely exuberant and happy and joyful in a moment, and when to realize it's a one-run game.
Putting too much pressure in a situation and overthinking it can be a problem too. You know what I mean? Being loose sometimes doesn't hurt to counteract, not to
That's a good point.
Your point. I mean, I get it. What you're saying is don't go to the extreme. Don't go giggle, laugh, think it's a joke. Be serious, but
know when to.
Yeah.
Because like I think the point of this entire thing was 8-1. You're putting the jacket on.
Yeah.
Why are you putting 8-1? Why are you putting the jacket on 8-1? Why are you? I'd be embarrassed 8-1.
Put like an L jacket on. Have a big L on the back, and you put that.
Yeah, sure. Where's the equal embarrassment jacket then? You know, you got 4 strikeouts, and they've actually put a golden sombrero on your head.
All right. Everybody, we get it. They're having fun wrong. Let's pivot and move on.
You started it.
I did. I'm a shit disturber. All right.
I defended their fun, damn it.
Yes, you did. Actually, you pointed out that Joel's take was racist. So
that's
you brought cultural backgrounds.
For what it's worth, that's not at all what I was going for.
We're all from different countries and different backgrounds.
Interpreted that
we all celebrate differently, and then old white Joel was getting racist.
You say that like he was wrong to point it out.
The darkest skin in this entire room, I think.
All right, let's pivot now to Mr. Juan Soto. Rejects a $440 million offer from the Nationals, reportedly seeking upwards of $500 million. By all accounts now, the Nationals will seek to trade Juan Soto. Couple different angles we could take on this. Let's start with this one, and then we can dive into the details from there. Will Juan Soto be traded this season?
Yes.
Yes.
So there's a real sense of urgency to trade him.
Yes.
Okay.
And then sell the team. What an odd little scenario.
The bigger question is who's he going to go to? Would be what teams can pony up enough money or prospects. And they from what I had heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but they want prospects and major league ready talent also. So you got to have enough money to sign them and enough prospects to be able to get them to trade them. So which teams would be the ones that would have the greatest chance? For me, I'm thinking you're looking Cardinals, Dodgers, Yankees are top 3.
I saw somebody say the Cardinals today. And
Cardinals,
sorry. You said Cardinals. And I hadn't thought that. And I was just like, oh, yes, he'll go to the Cardinals. I mean, it's...
I just want to see what you guys think. Who is the best chance of being able to pull them?
It's such a weird thing to think about because that kind of talent at that age with what is ahead of him just does not, there's no comparable, right? Like how do you figure out what is worth Juan Soto? Like crazy.
So Juan Soto has, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 years of control left. He's 26 years old.
Two more after this year, and he's 23.
24, 23?
He's 23.
And he's got a World Series ring.
Yeah.
24.
There's not many warts on this player as far as reasons to not be excited about adding him to your team. I don't know what else. What else could you ask for? Maybe that he was pitching too.
Well, there's the guy the Blue Jays should get, the switch hitting pitcher who may also be available.
All right, well, let's start with Soto, and then we could talk Shohei for a
you're right,
second.
Chris. He is 23. You're right. I take it back.
So,
Sorry.
23 years old for Juan Soto.
You saw me looking it up, and you're like, oh, no.
I was looking it up, too. I'm like, oh, man, I'm going to be wrong.
What is our confidence level that he's going to be traded this year? Like 100%? It's a certainty?
85.
I think Andrew hit the nail on the head with like the word unprecedented. You don't see this kind of stuff happen like with a 23-year-old superstar. So I think he'll get traded. The logical thing is that he would get traded if I'm running the Nationals, but what the hell's the packet? Like what's the return? I mean, I think it's just as much as you could possibly get from whomever that is. And so we'll see where the bidding war goes.
It's so weird. The ownership thing, I think, is such a wrinkle, right? Because it's like,
Totally.
I don't know. Do you want an extra $500 million that you have to pay out for the new owner? Like so does that put them in a position where other teams can, put the squeeze on them a little bit? Which
well, that's what I'm wondering, Andrew.
Because he's such a talent and such a unique piece on the market.
That's what I'm wondering is with every passing year that they don't trade him, his trade value does go down. 3 years of control is a lot of control. Like this is nothing. This is not a rental. You need to trade for him with the intention of signing him, obviously. But super young, World Series ring, control. I do wonder if. I mean, it's easy to speculate, wow, this package is going to be so high trading for him. But what if it's just not? What if the Nationals just panic and they're like, we need to get rid of him this year? The market maybe isn't as high as we think, but they're worried that the market's going to be even lower next year.
I don't think they're going to panic because they worked $340 to $440 million, right? They had offered him $350 originally, and it ballooned all the way to $440. So that's like a lot of work that they did just on trying to resign. So they're not going to just take that value and shot put it away for nothing. They understand what that value is. And I think if they wait until the off season, you've still got that. I think it's now to training camp of next year is when that deal is going to be made. And it's just, it is profound to think how much you need in return for that. When you're talking about Ted Williams too, when you're comparable as Ted Williams, and at 23, it's not 27.
And how many guys exist that fit the timeline? Like I saw people on Jay's Twitter talking about like, well, what if you trade Bo Bichette? It's like, well, then is Bo Bichette, if the Nationals can't win with Soto, like Bichette only gives you a couple extra years, and they were talking about bigger packages than that and all sorts of weird hypotheticals. But there aren't a ton of guys who it's like, okay, he'll still be under team control in 6-8 years that you really feel good about. If you're the Nationals getting back for Soto, because you're so far away from your peak, it makes it very, very complicated. It will be fascinating, and it will go to the Dodgers or the Cardinals or the Yankees or one of those stupid teams that just get those kind of gifts all the time.
Well, and I wonder if like this is the kind of situation, like mentioning all those teams, we're talking about contenders this year, and I keep thinking that package is going to have to include so much major league ready talent that it might impact the race this year. And so that's why I keep thinking this is a deal that's more likely to happen in the off season. Yeah. Like if I'm the Cardinals, do I want to trade guys that I have in the clubhouse right now, or or the Yankees, do I want to take a significant piece of the puzzle? I mean, I don't know what those trade returns look like, but I think that's a significant factor to think about, because it's if you're the Nationals, you could ask for anyone. You could literally ask for any player, any prospect, any major league player. And to me, that just seems like an easier thing to max out in the offseason.
See, I'm confused. I thought it was actually Matt Carpenter who turned down the $440 million. Okay. For me, guys, the big X factor in the Juan Soto thing is we don't know Washington's thinking. I would submit it is on the table, plausible, that Washington is saying to bidders out there, you let us know what minor leaguers are coming back to us, what prospects are coming back to us. But at the end of the trade, Juan Soto is yours, Steven Strasburg is yours, Patrick Corbin is yours. They could be looking at this as a way to shed upwards of $1 billion off of that pair, and literally, in Canadian terms, literally $1 billion off of that team payroll going forward. So that's the X factor for me, guys. We don't know what Washington is going to be looking. I know Rick was mentioning something. I hadn't seen that report, Rick. As far as I was thinking, that was a big X factor that we don't know what Washington is looking for.
I had read an article that said major league ready. They wanted some at least.
Well, you're bragging, Rick, because you're reading articles. You're just bragging about that.
Can I add a question to the entire thing?
Please.
If your team, obviously it makes the most sense that you're making this deal and then signing him right on the back end of that trade. Okay. But is there a chance that you would make that trade for just those 3 years?
Absolutely. 100% there.
That's
There are bidders that will do that.
Can you look at your team and say, look, we're not going to be able to sign 440 or anything, but we get 3 years.
And I think
25, 26.
If you think 3 years is your window,
yes, that's what I'm saying.
3 years is your window, then absolutely you do that.
And I think that's the most likely scenario. Like, I don't actually think the Blue Jays are going to end up with Juan Soto, but I think if there's a scenario where he does come to Toronto, I think that's the most likely one. Where he, like, his agent says, no, we're not signing this long-term deal. He's going to be 26 or 25 when he wants his $600 million deal when the market shifts that much in 2.5 years. So, like, if there was a chance to get him for 3 years at a less, like, entire farm system rate, then I think that might be more feasible, but who the hell knows?
With the idea that we're paying arbitration money to a guy who wants to put down numbers so he can sign that big deal. Like, that's interesting to me for a lot of
whole thing south. That's a great point. If the whole thing goes south 2.5 years from now, you're selling him at the trade deadline anyway. You're recouping a whole bunch of assets back anyway.
It's really interesting to me from that point of view.
It doesn't feel like there's ever been a player available that could tip the scales as much as Juan Soto could tip the scales. Like, truly, it doesn't matter what contender he goes to. All of a sudden, they skyrocket to World Series contender #1, in my opinion. Like,
this is the Oilers shopping Gretzky right now. It's kind of what it is. Only younger.
Go to the Yankees. Keep him away from the Yankees.
I like Craig's idea though of paying a bunch to get him for 2.5 years and then flipping him in that final year. I wonder how much of your initial investment in terms of prospect capital you could just get back in that third year. I bet you'd be pretty close
flipping a house.
They flip them in 2 years.
Value, I bet you.
You know.
I don't know.
By the way, there's prospect capital re-uppings happening this weekend. Blue Jays have a lot of top draft picks happening this weekend. By those of us concerned about gutting the farm system.
All right. Let's move on now to we're the halfway mark of the show. So let's start playing Guess the Career Total Earnings. It's Rick's favorite segment. So here we go. All right, so first one up. This is here's the order of the picking. We got Joel, Rick, Jen, Chris, Andrew, Scott, and then Craig. So for anybody unfamiliar, this is Price is Right style rules. So it's the closest to the career total earnings without going over. Joel, you're on deck here first, and the player we're guessing at is Manny Ramirez.
I'll go 2. I'll start with 200.
200 million. All right, Rick, what do you got for Manny Ramirez?
225.
225. Manny Ramirez also wore jersey number 24, just so you know. Jen, what do you got for Manny Ramirez?
50.
50 million.
250.
250. Oh, okay. That's a big distinction. Chris, what do you got for Manny Ramirez?
I know he got some big paydays at the end, but I'm going to go way below you guys and say like 140.
140 from Chris. Andrew, what do you got?
$183 million.
183. That's so specific. I think you'd looked it up. Scott, what do you got for Manny Ramirez?
182.
182.
Taking the old Joel route.
And Craig, what do you got for Manny Ramirez?
I'm $1 more than what I don't think we've hit it. So I'm $1 more than whatever the highest bid is. I don't think we've hit it. It won't surprise me if this is in the 300s. So if Chris, I've got egg right on this old bald head over here.
All right, so Jen's in at 250. That's the highest bid. You want 251?
Yes, please.
Okay, the correct number for Manny Ramirez is $206 million. So congratulations to Joel, who got it closest with 200. Joel, the floor is yours.
First guess, too. First guess got it right.
True.
Well done.
Could be talking Top Gun again.
Can I was told not to. No, actually, I wasn't. Okay, so bullpen is a big issue with the Jays, but I saw a stat where the Jays right now are 29th out of 30 teams when facing left-handed pitchers. Being such a right-handed dominant lineup, being so right-handed, do we need a left-handed bat or do we need bullpen?
I thought it was impressive this last series. I know you were playing the Royals, but I did see a bullpen that only gave up 2 runs in 13 innings. So there is signs of life with the bullpen. I think the left-handed bat to me is more important. One of the things I also noticed in that series was the Jays usually dictate or how their offense goes by the first 3 batters of the game. The game that they did lose against the Royals, no hits out of the first 3 in the lineup. The rest of the series, you're getting at least 2 to 3 hits out of the top 3, all 3 games you won. So, yes, I think the left-handed bat is going to be more important in that situation.
Anybody? I want starting pitching. That's my number one priority.
Me too.
So I think if we get a left-handed bat or bullpen help, if we don't add a proper starting pitcher, it's all a moot point.
I think starting pitching helps the bullpen. And I keep saying that.
Jen. Exactly. Yeah. Just lengthens the pen.
Who's available right now? Do we know who Jays would go after
in the rotation?
Yes.
I mean, there's Castillo's available, Montas is available. I don't know that the Jays are going to go out and get those guys, but I could be wrong. There's others, obviously, but my vote's 100% in the bullpen. I don't think you can win a 7-game playoff series without more swing and miss arms. Like when you start playing the Yankees and have to throw Adam Simber against Aaron Judge in the 7th or 8th inning, that scares the shit out of me. So I would, really does. I need some bullpen guys if I get a vote.
Yeah, Chris,
go ahead, Craig, please.
I was just going to say, Chris, to Chris's point, we haven't seen 2021 Tim Meza yet as well. Is it possible to full circle this conversation, trade for Juan Soto and flip him for relievers? Wait a minute.
Traded twice in the same season. Now we're talking.
Yes.
Yeah. Love it, Craig. Love it.
And in this scenario, we have to choose one, right? We can't just be like, well, we need all of those.
Well, if you got pieces to make one significant move. I'm just saying hypothetically, right? You've got pieces to make one significant move, and you have to make one. Which one are you pulling the trigger on? I'm not saying we do have pieces to make one, but just I'm creating it.
Okay,
I honestly believe this team needs more than just bullpen.
I think we have a lot of holes to fill. I'm just saying, what is the first hole you want to fill? I'll rephrase it like that.
Okay, my vote is that we fill the hole in right field named Teoscar Hernandez. I want him gone. Craig disagrees with me.
Can we edit that part out and just move on like it never happened?
Like the beginning of the podcast?
Exactly.
Let's go right back to the beginning.
All right.
We can eliminate my no fun segment.
Real talk though. Everyone loves Teoscar Hernandez. Then is that the takeaway I'm getting from this? Because I'm
the White
not
Sox
a fan.
are putting Gavin Sheets in, right? So you're better off than we are.
There may be some middle ground between loving and being like they need to trade him. There are obviously other holes that are much more important. I'm with Chris on the bullpen personally, and frankly, even the left-handed thing, crazy as it seems, Kevin Biggio and Raimel Tapia have been doing the job well, lately. Like I don't know that they don't need more. Bradley Zimmer's just occupying a spot. Zach Collins may be on this roster right now. I'm not even 100% sure, but like they could use more talent. But those lefties have been doing all right. They need relievers. The starting pitcher, I think, I just don't see that as a fit, right? I think that they've paid so much for Gausman and Barrios, and I think that Manoah's been so good. Stripling's been really good. I think they could use a depth starter for sure, but the idea I would be thrilled and would think it would be great if they went out and got a Montes or got a Castillo, got a Shohei Ohtani, which is that's the dream.
Solves real problem.
For everyone who thinks we need bullpen help as the priority, do you think that this starting rotation as it is right now is enough to get past the Yankees in a 7-game series? Just like a serious question. Are we starting Manoah
Yeah.
3 times, and we're rolling
Easily.
out Barrios and Gossman on short rest, and that's enough.
I mean, the best team wins. The best team wins like 55% of the time. Like it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's just a crapshoot. So of course they could win.
You could win if you don't have a dominant ace to shut down one of those teams. I mean,
Absolutely, they do. Absolutely, they do. They've got 2. Like, and Barrios is pitching a lot better these days. I mean, he had a dumpster fire of his start of the year, but I mean,
do you trust him against the Yankees though? That would be my point.
As much as I trust anybody. I mean,
But
like
that's
the
just-
thing. Like
with
Do you trust
3
heads
starters,
do you trust
essentially,
heads
is what
in
I
a
want to
coin
know.
flip?
Like,
what I wanna know-
honestly-
Are we good
the
with
only
just
guys
3?
I trust more than like Alec Manoah would be like a Justin Verlander or a Max Scherzer. But beyond that, like we're talking, Manoah to me has jumped into a tier of the very best pitchers in baseball. So, and Gossman's not that far behind. He's really had a really solid year. If Rios continues to pitch the way he has the last few times out, I'd feel really good about the Blue Jays in a 7-game series compared to, even. As much as it's foolish to say this, I think the Blue Jays are better set up in a 7-game series rotation wise than the Yankees are. If Severino's going to be out for a while, I mean they've overperformed in the first half, and I think the Blue Jays have underperformed in a lot of ways.
My biggest concern with getting a starter is that the reason I feel we need a starter so badly is I look at the possibility of bad tacos and injuries and stuff like that, and like one injury could literally derail this whole season, and I hate the idea of rolling the dice on just not one guy getting injured. Like let's face it, and knocking on all the wood, and we're like I don't even want to say it out loud, but like if a guy like Kevin Goss
Thomas Hatch has to come back up, sir.
If someone breaks a finger,
yeah, like we just saw it happen with Chris Sale with the Red Sox. I mean, what a string of bad luck, right? 3 years of recovering from injuries and Tommy Johns and so on and so forth. Second, third start of his back with the team, he breaks his pinky and he's out, right? And so it happens, and it's just like I want a little bit of depth beyond Castillo, right?
Did have a couple good hits in the minors though. See those hits against that? What was it? A telephone?
Oh yeah.
All right.
For what it's worth, I 100% agree that rotation depth is very much needed. Like you're right. If anyone gets hurt, then Thomas Hatch and Anthony Kay's been injured all year. Pearson hasn't done anything. That we'd need some depth. But I think to me the bullpen is probably 1, rotation 2, bad
like
3 for me.
Our best depth pitchers are in Vancouver right now.
Yeah, it is scary that way.
I think
Definitely.
it's consistency. They have good people. It's just consistency. Like to your point, Barrios doing better now. Just more of that consistency. Having a clunker, but then getting right back on the horse.
Well, that was all
so
Charlie
Jim-
Montoyo's fault, and we got rid of him, so problem solved, right?
Yeah, what I was going to say was to bring it back to the John Schneider thing, right? I think we have to fill a lot of holes before we can really start to judge, what management has to do, because we are devoid of a significant left-handed bat in the middle of that lineup. We're right now we are 1 injury away from having a very volatile starting rotation, and that bullpen has been suspect all year. So, it's just like when you've got holes pretty much all over the place, management can only do so much. So
This
maybe
is
it's
completely out of left field, but do you folks think, like, out of all of you, what do you think Ross Stripling signs for? You think he can get like $45 million 3 years? Like, is he pitching well enough to get a contract somewhere for?
I don't know. I've heard that his innings pitched are gonna hurt him on the free agent market. The utility is phenomenal that he's able to be so flexible, but just from like a standard negotiation, my understanding is that innings pitched are a big factor, and he's going to end the season even if he's a starter the rest of the way. But I think come trade deadline, he's going to be back in the bullpen. But that's a
He's
whole
got to
other
have more
argument.
value than Steven Matz did, and
I was just going to say the rest of it. Matt's was a cautionary tale, though.
right.
So is Yusei Kikuchi. All right, let's.
I see Stripling as a guy who'll get a lot of 1-year offers and might have to take the 2. Like I don't see 3 for him.
Yeah.
All right, let's roll the next round here of guess the career total earnings. So up first, we've got same order, but Joel's moved to the bottom. So Rick, you're up first, and we're guessing on Ken Griffey Jr.
175.
175.
Probably high, but I suck.
Jen, what do you got for Ken Griffey Jr. career total earnings to date?
147.
147. Chris, what do you got?
She literally, like, I know it sounds like a thing people would just say to make it up, and that's literally the number I was going to say. So I'll say 145.
145. All right, Mr. Andrew.
215.
215 for Andrew. Scott, what do you got for Ken Griffey, the kid?
You're muted, buddy.
Scott.
Literally, it could be anything.
Scott,
200 million. Sorry.
200 million from Scott. Great listening on the podcast audio side. Craig, what do you got for Ken Griffey Jr.?
Oh, sorry, do I stay quiet? How did Scott stay quiet for a couple minutes? No, sorry. 24 of the long toss. Griff was the best 24 I ever saw. How could I say anything but 224 million?
Hey, there you go. 224. All right, and Joel, bring it home.
230.
230 for Ken Griffey Jr. His career total earnings to date, 165 million.
Wow.
That includes the $3.5 million that he's getting from the Reds this year, and not including the $7 million that he's going to get from them over the next 2 years. So closest was Jen at 147. So Jen, the floor is yours.
I had a few different topics like I usually do. So I'll toss a couple out there and you guys can chat what you want. Are the Orioles a real contender for a wild card spot? Scott MacArthur did a poll. What grade would you give the Blue Jays to this point in the season? Let's go with one of those two. Either one.
First one's an easy no.
Yeah.
Next year, maybe. It's weird to talk about anybody when they're at their peak, and I think that
In any other division, maybe,
yeah,
but not in this division.
If there's ever been an all-star break that would upset a team, it's got to be this one for the Orioles. Like, if there's a team...
And Mariners.
Like, no, don't...
Yeah,
and the
Mariners.
Mariners. Yeah, for sure. That's what, 13...
They win again today?
Yeah.
They
They did,
did.
yeah.
Just to point out two things here. The Mariners are 16 out of 18 wins since that brawl with the LA Angels. So nice little catalyst that brought that team together.
What are the Angels since that brawl?
Probably not as good.
Down in Archie Bradley.
5-0. Angels have 13 wins. 5-0. Seattle's got 13 wins in their last 13 games.
The crazy part is at 13 straight wins, they're still almost 10 games back of the Astros. They barely made up any ground.
Baltimore, I would say not for real this year, but I would also say not going to be sellers at the deadline. Can I say that?
Yes.
They are close enough. They are not going to move any real pieces. I don't think Trey Mancini goes even at this point.
Oh, so
The Orioles are yet again the baseball gods coming down on the Toronto Blue Jays. How did the rest of the American League East get the beat up on the Baltimore Orioles when they were still the Baltimore Orioles? Now all of a sudden they're the second coming of the best of the 2001 Mariners, and the Blue Jays got to play them 15 more times this season. By the way, there's my old man rant right there. Like, that is bad luck right there. And as far as the grade, how can we go anything higher than a C? How? This team had World Series aspirations. The manager has been fired. How can we go higher
I
than a
gave
C?
them a C as well, and that's only because they currently hold a playoff position, to be honest.
Yeah.
It could be worse.
it's a clear C. It's a clear C.
I agree with you.
My methodology is lazy at best. But yeah, I mean, I think you got to factor in the expectations, and yeah, it's neither the expectations have been met nor anything. Yeah, it could be worse. I feel like given it, they got 15 games against the Orioles left. I've just heard, so that's they're in a great spot.
I'll tell you what stunk too is aren't we feeling a little embarrassed about that? And all due respect to Vlad, I know what he meant by doing it, but it's starting to become a bit of a laughing meme. The preview, now the movie, that's starting to bite in the butt a little bit at this point.
I don't know, man. Movies suck now.
No,
There's no good movies at all. So don't.
The way I look at that is, I said way dumber things when I was that age. So he'll learn. He'll learn not to.
The whole world, Chris. Not to the whole world, you didn't.
Oh, you don't know me that well.
Plus, every good movie has the low point and then the big end, right?
Who's the hero?
No, the first act you got.
John Schneider.
First and second act has got to be all about putting the hero in the toilet so that he can rise up triumphantly. God, I hope so. I hope it's just Vladdy's incredible understanding of screenwriting that's why he claimed it to be.
Oh, he's a film bro. He knows that the trailer is always better than the actual.
That's so true.
All right, quick question here, and then we'll move on to our next round. But talking overachievers, who's the biggest surprise on this Blue Jays team this year? We got Kirk as an option, Espinal is an option, Raimel Tapia is an option. Not too many guys overachieving, but who's
Kevin Biggio, as somebody
Kevin Biggio
who's run down Stripling's a great one too. Yeah,
Manoah.
Jen, Craig, what do you got?
I love what I've seen from Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good point.
Don't get me wrong, but I've just liked what I've seen from Garcia. So because I agree with the names you've said already.
Coming into this season, I was not convinced Espinal should be an everyday player, like literally an everyday player. And
I argued it all year, Jen. All year last year when people were like, he should be playing every day. I'm like, this is just going to expose him. And now I'm eating my words.
Expose him as an all-star.
20 pounds of muscle in the off season. Like, I cannot tell you how incredibly difficult that would be. That is.
If you haven't heard his story, read it. It's impressive. It's just a story of not giving up, a bunch of adversity, not graduating high school, eventually getting an online degree, doing college, struggling. Read it. It's a good read if you get a chance to read it.
Espinal?
Yes.
Oh, amazing. He's got cool. Like future broadcaster all like written all over him. He seems like the media folks are really comfortable with and is comfortable in that space. I don't know that being one of the best 10% of her, or whatever Ken Rosenthal just tweeted about, like how many All-Stars there are. It's been. I don't know if he's an everyday player just yet for me.
I love that.
All right,
a little wrinkle in there for me.
All right, up next we've got our next round is Jen. You're up first. Matt Carpenter, the New York Yankee himself.
How many years in Easy?
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Yeah.
Sure, we're allowed to ask questions, I guess. While I stall and look up how many years he's played, and
he use his name in his.
Hey, Adam, I'll look it up if I can look up the salary while I'm at it.
No, you're good. No, 12 years for Matt Carpenter, Jen.
I mean, I don't know. I'm terrible at this game. 160. I don't know.
160. He just won the last round.
Yeah, I was just going to say you just won.
That's some serious backhanded trash talk right there.
That was coincidence.
You guys are so bad at this.
All right, Chris, you're up.
Man, I don't have a clue what kind of contracts this guy's had. I'm going to say 99 million just to make the first guess under 100.
All right. Andrew, what do you got?
64.
64. Scott.
Dick move, but I'm going to go 65.
65. Wow.
Fair, though.
Craig, what do you got for Matt Carpenter with the mustache?
As soon as Carpenter came out of your mouth, I thought, you know what, I'll go about 160 million. Then the first thing out of Jen's mouth was, I'll take a terrible guess, 160 million. Okay. You know what? Let's go 161. Again, I'll say, let's see if we even hit it. Let's go 161. Sorry, Jen.
All right. Joel, what do you got?
80.
$80 million. And Rick.
Go low, 20. 24.
24 million from Rick. All right. The correct answer for Matt Carpenter through 12 seasons has made $78 million. So Joel was close but went over at 80. Scott with the dirtbag 65 move. The floor is yours, Scott.
Okay, so my topic for tonight is the fact that there's all this talk about the Jays obviously needing to make some moves, and some of those moves might come in the form of moving some big league talent that's on this team right now. And I know if you look at the team and the holes and where there's some actual depth, the outfield might be the case. And if you look at Lourdes Gurriel Jr., very friendly contract, kills it every single year after May. Do you guys see, who do you see as the most likely guy on this team to be moved that's on this big league roster? And would you move Lourdes Gurriel Jr.?
I would move almost anybody,
Okay, yeah.
depending on who's coming back.
Yeah.
Right? Like, without knowing the return, but I think pretty much everybody is movable. Maybe not Manoah and Vlad are probably your two that you're at the top of the list of guys you really aren't wanting to touch and may be untouchable. I think everybody else is fair game. And that includes Bo.
Regardless,
Take that, Bo.
By the way, when I say move major league talent, I also mean like you're really filling some holes on the way back, right? Like you're
Of course, yeah. No, I know you mean that.
Okay, yeah.
You know, I'll stick with the corner outfielder thing. I think, and to me, it's not like they need to get rid of Lourdes or need to get rid of Teo or anything like that. To me, the key is that they're both free agents at the end of next season, and I don't think they can. You know, regardless of how this all goes, I don't think they're going to plan to re-sign both of them. At some point, I think there's going to be a change there. And so, like, my first knee-jerk response was, or in my head was maybe Danny Jansen, but I don't think he's getting traded this year. And I don't see any of the infielders getting traded either. So if I had to pick one for the big league roster, I'd probably go with, Teoscar Hernandez.
Over Lourdes, eh?
Weirdly enough, I'd agree with Teo because I
More value
figure
there?
that, like, I don't know, when I look at Lourdes, I don't think with his batting average and the way that he could, like, if he does end up projecting to be like Yuli, like that's a consistent guy that you can also bring out of the outfield and put him at first base. You know, there's a little bit of diversity in how you play him. And I think Teo's home runs and that production is going to be a lot more expensive. I think Teo, as a free agent, I think teams are willing to spend a little bit more for a guy who has put up 30 plus home runs and seems this year to, he was injured at the beginning of the year, but his power stroke is at another level over Gurriel's. So I think that you're paying more to keep Teo on the team. And I don't mind defensive, like the defense that you have to look at. Defense has improved. This used to be a guy where you'd be like this every time a ball went to him, but he was an infielder's entire life. So it's not like an outfielder who was bad at being an outfielder in his mid-20s. It's a guy who was put there in his mid-20s and has consistently
because he was bad at
infield.
Yeah,
so it's just like, but he's gotten to a point where you're okay with his defense out there. So I would say that he's not going to cost us as much, and we get pretty great production out of him, and especially after those first 2 months of the season, he's going to take that step. So I would say probably Teo makes more sense just because you're probably going to be paying more for him.
Well, and let me just add before, I don't really think either of them are going to get traded. But if I was to pick one from the big league roster, the reason I pick a corner outfielder and choose Teo over Gurriel is because I think he's got more selling points with 2 silver sluggers and also that sort of thing. And as we've seen, Gurriel is a second half player. So, I don't think either of them are getting traded, but if I had to pick one, gun to my head, that's who I think it would be.
I agree with Chris about that. I don't think any of them are getting trading. I don't think that there's a lot of appeal to like rebuilding teams or the teams that you're going to be trading with for guys who are going to be free agents so soon. I'm going to go, ironically, pull one out of left field. And I'm going to say that in order to make some salaries match in a weird trade to make the money work a little bit better, you say Kikuchi is the big league roster player who is most likely to be traded by the Blue Jays.
Interesting.
No value there.
I mean, yeah.
No, but if
Contract.
you're taking somebody else's even worse contract, maybe
So we're
It is one of the bad contracts.
I'm not.
So we're
saying
getting
this is a great
Patrick
idea.
Corbin.
If we're taking Patrick Corbin, you're taking Kikuchi. I like that.
And just throw Soto in while you're at it. Just throw it in.
100% what I'm thinking here.
Yeah. I follow you now.
Yeah, I would say
If the Angels trade Shohei, they're gonna need a pitcher in return.
Right.
exactly.
2 years left. 2 more years. Front-loaded deal. What a steal.
And if the translators are owned, or the team pays the translators, it only makes sense to get a Japanese guy back, right?
Oh no.
Seamless transition.
Seamless, right?
All right. I would say Teoscar, not necessarily because like he quote unquote needs to go, but I just think that if we are going to add a left-handed bat, that the corner outfield is the easiest place to do so, and we don't need more corner outfielders at this point. So I would say if we get rid of Teoscar, it's just to make room for a left-handed bat.
I'd also say maybe Ramel Tapia. I would put him above Teoscar and Lourdes to go as well in the Kikuchi tier. Even though he's been pretty decent, there's another money move that it think back up to like Francisco Liriano or something like that. Like,
Is
the
Tapia making
component
big
could be-
money?
I don't
No,
think.
but
No, he makes like
not
$3 million.
huge, but I mean, yeah.
All right.
But
We're splitting.
He could
hairs
be
here.
an Aoki.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the next round here. We still got 4 rounds to go. We're running out of time. So next up, we've got Joey Gallo. And Chris, you're up first for Joey Gallo.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm really bad at this too. He doesn't. I don't know, 44 million. I don't think he's made that much yet.
All right. Andrew, what do you got for Joey Gallo?
I'll go with 66 million, but I think that's perhaps wrong. Also, I would like to shout out. I know a lot of there were mock drafts that were having Kumar Rocker drop below the Blue Jays. He was picked 3rd, by the way.
Yeah.
wow.
Just a thing that just
Wow.
Holy, that is so much higher than they were projecting him. That's
Right.
unreal.
Texas Rangers.
Oh, the first time.
good
Wasn't he
for
hurt
him.
the first
He was 11th last year, wasn't he? By the Mets.
11?
Yeah.
Way down. Okay.
So, wow. Interesting. I didn't expect him to go 3rd, but okay.
No,
There
yeah.
you go. Scott, what do you got for Joey Gallo?
50?
50 for Joey Gallo. All right. Craig.
Sorry, as somebody with 4 Rocker rookie cards, I was just calculating some cash real quick. Gallo, my gosh, how bad am I at this game? Let's go 80. My gosh, let's go 80.
80. All right. Joel, what do you have for Joey Gallo?
27.
27. All right. And Rick.
How many seasons did he play?
8 seasons.
Oh, now you ask.
Let's go. What was the highest bid?
80 from Craig.
Let's go 81.
81. All right. And Jen, what do you got for Joey Gallo?
I was reading the reactions to Rocker going 3rd, so I haven't been paying attention to the bids. So is 70 on the table?
70 is available.
Cool.
It's all yours. Okay. And the correct answer is you are all overbid. So we're going to go one more time.
I was thinking
all
of
of
going
them.
$1, and I was, but
pennies on the
then
dollar.
somebody went
27 was over.
I know. Isn't that
That's
crazy?
why I didn't do it.
Does he even
So-
have a contract?
27 was over. Damn.
All right. So Joey Gallo under 27 million. Let's go again. Chris, you're up first.
That's shocking. Oh, well, I guess whatever. Let's go 19 million.
19. All right. Andrew.
24.
24.
Yeah.
All right, Scott.
$1.
$1.
Oh, you took my bid. Just
Not
wait.
1 million. $1.
That's
what do
kind
you-
of more of a last
Yeah.
Craig, $2.
You're gonna love my
I
bid.
would call. You know what? I don't trust you, Adam. I'm sticking with my 80 million.
Going off the board. I like it. Risky. Drafting Kumar third. 80
You're a
million.
liar.
All right. Joel, what do you have for Joey Gallo?
25.
25. Rick, what do you got?
$2.
$2. And Jen, what do you got?
19 and a half.
19 and a half.
Bid, good bid.
That's a good bid. All right, the correct number is 26 million,
Ooh.
which means Joel was closest.
I was
with 25.
$1 over with my first bid. And then
Yes, and
$1.
$1 under with your second bid. But you've already won. So the next runner-up is Andrew with 24 million. So, Mr. Stoughton, the floor is yours.
Oh, I get to ask a question. Is that how we're doing this?
Yes, sir.
Well, it doesn't have to be about baseball to the Jays. That's what a
is
message
true.
I got. So,
That's right.
I apologize if you've done this. I apologize if you've exhausted this argument. Flats or drums? Flats or drums? You get a big old bowl, a basket of chicken wings. Picking them flats. You picking those drums? Because I have thoughts on this.
This is a good chicken wing
Folks,
question.
Look at Joel thinking.
No, I'm gonna jump right in because I already
Please
know
do.
the answer.
All right.
I'm a big dip guy. I really love
Yeah.
ranch with my hot wings, and so the flats you can get the most ranch on there. I'm a flat guy.
I'm using my phone as the or I would show you my Uber Eats because my Uber Eats, the special because I only order wings. The instructions are all wings, no drumsticks, please and thank you. I am all about drumsticks. Often are so fatty, guys.
Don't forget the cartilage and everything like
Yeah.
that. Yep.
Oh, I love putting my fucking tongue into a little flat to try to get a tiny
The
bit
show
of
just
meat
went
out
to
of
R.
it. Sorry.
The rating on it just
This
went
is
up.
getting graphic here. Yeah. All right. Sticking your tongue through the flats.
So that's a mental image I just didn't need, for myself.
Which nobody does. Nobody needs.
I don't even know. I'm speechless.
All right. I prefer a good wing, a good flat myself, but so does my wife. So being the good husband that I am, I always take the drumsticks. So it's not worth fighting over.
I like flats because they can get a little crispy sometimes. But like, I'll be honest, I would eat cardboard if it had barbecue sauce on it. So
Okay.
All right. Very
Flats too, so I think we were.
I mean, you're all wrong, but okay, yeah. This changes nothing about the entire show, so this is great.
I didn't even know cardboard was an option. So
good. All right, Andrew. Let us know the real answer, the correct answer on this.
The answer is
debate.
drums, clearly. I mean, it does. Normally I have a much larger beard thing going on, and yeah, I'm not putting my tongue in.
it also depends on if you're eating them at home or if you're out in public.
Yeah.
I think that's a factor.
100% a factor. Yeah, I'll eat
Not if you
flats
don't
at
have any
home.
shame.
Yeah.
at home you're getting
So
messy.
true.
I have no
Sticking your
shame. So
tongue through
you
it
can
like beds.
smear barbecue sauce on my chest at the restaurant. I don't care. I mean, it's fine.
God.
All right. Let's move on from that great topic. Thank you for
Just trying
that.
to ruin your rating
Back
completely
to baseball,
today.
please.
Yeah.
I'm sure the live chat's just going bananas with their thoughts on this. All right. Next up, we've got Andrew. You're up first, and it is Jose Batista, career total earnings.
Okay. All right. That would be. You're making me do math. Fuck. Frig. Let's go. It's about 80.
About 80. All right. Scott, what do you got for Joey Bats?
71.
71. All right. Craig, what do you got?
We can ask a question. So my question is, what's the answer?
Ooh,
Oh, is that not? That's not
you're
gonna work.
really stretching that loophole.
That's
Yeah.
Jeopardy.
Let's get into triple digits then. Let's go 100 for Joey Bats.
Okay. Joel, what do you have?
70, 75.
70, 75. Rick, what do you have
What's
for
the
Joey
lowest?
Batista?
What's the lowest bid?
Lowest is 71.
Let's go 60.
60. Jen, what do you have?
78, because it's the year I was born in. So
78.
no other reason.
And Chris, what do you have? Joey Bats.
I want to say I'm sorry, Jen. I'm not trying to be that guy. I was going to say 77, so I'm not just trying to undercut you here, but that was my answer. I want to say it's like 76.7. For some reason, that number's popping out in my head.
We will let you sneak in 76.7. Is wrong.
Oh, that's not what.
The correct answer, Jose Batista, a whopping $115 million.
Wow.
So, Mr. Craig Ballard,
Him.
the floor is yours.
I'm talking out my ass again, is what you're saying. 76.7 is popping.
I'd like to hear the math on that because he got the $50 million deal from Alex after the breakout season, I believe. But yeah, there was an arbitration year.
There was 18 million at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably the Mets paid him some, or the Braves when he went there.
I'm looking right now.
And of course he had some, when he was.
I know on the one that I win, there's quite a deep dive.
Whoa.
Oh, did somebody beat him?
No, I think it's just interesting. I don't think you're wrong.
I'm joking.
So here's the rough breakdown on Jose Batista's career earnings. So we've got 4 years in Pittsburgh, around $300,000 each. Or sorry, $300,000 each. That really added up.
Why did he ever leave?
Contract that.
And then starting in 2008 with the Jays, he made 1.9, 2.4, 2.4, 8 million, and then he made from 2012 to 2016. So in those 5 years, he made 14 million each. In 2017, he made 18 million. In 2018, $500,000. 2018, he made 91,000. And in that's split three ways. Never mind. I was thinking that was way low. That's split between three different teams.
It's like playing almost in AAA money kind of there.
So there you go. All right. So Craig, the floor is yours.
Well, I'd love to have some shout outs. Let's get some deep cuts here. A player for each of us that people would be surprised to know that we're a big fan of. For me, I'll kick it off. Toronto Blue Jays. And I loved Randy Knorr. There's my deep cut out of nowhere. Like, where did that come from? Let's get some shout outs to some lesser known players that we've grown up cheering for.
All right. I will step in next. For me, it is former Blue Jays Rookie of the Year and third baseman Eric Hinsky.
Wow. Awesome.
So
there's the left hand.
Nobody can hear
there
you.
We go.
Unless you're.
That we need.
Yeah, Joel, you're muted. Nope, still muted. All right, let's go to someone else.
No,
Rick?
I was just sorry. I was just
go to me
answering a
last.
phone call.
Okay.
I got to think about it.
All right.
Well,
You know what? I'm going to go with Dustin McGowan. I was a big fan of him. I loved his big chops. He definitely,
Nice.
I don't know, his career cut a little short there.
I have no idea what we're guessing. 26 million.
Close.
That's just,
We are.
sorry, I just had a phone call right there. What was on the
Sorry,
tip?
Craig has give some love to your off the radar, underloved Toronto Blue Jay of all time, or player, I guess. of all time.
I got you.
Yeah, I thought it was just in general.
I think
Yeah,
it was
it is.
in general. I got too specific. Sorry. So
Yeah,
Tony
of
La
course.
Russa's back in contention.
Ugh,
Tony La Russa, yeah.
we don't have enough time in the podcast.
I got to give some love to Dalton Pompey. He's been a beauty a bunch of times. He's got it. Wanted to see better for.
Heard to the rumor that Dalton Pompey is still standing at third base in Kansas City from that 20. I think he's still on third base right
Yes.
Can I go with Travis Schneider?
You can.
You can.
Let's why not?
All right. There you go. All right. Andrew, Jen, Rick.
Oh, I'm old. I was going to say, for some reason I enjoyed, again, just to preface it, I am old. For some reason I enjoyed the 1986 Boston Red Sox more than a Toronto Blue Jays fan should. And also always had a soft spot for the Montreal Expos. So I'm saying Spike Owen, shortstop Spike Owen.
Oh, he played for both of those teams. Right? Nice.
All right, Jen.
I can't think of a Jays player that would surprise anybody. I think my favorite player of all time is Dustin Pedroia, and it really bugs the hell out of Jays fans when I say that.
Happy.
I'm upset.
Yeah, I'm a little upset too.
Sickening. All right, Rick, what do you got?
I'm gonna also go Montreal Expos. I'm gonna go Steve Rogers.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Very good.
Former All-Star.
All right. 2 more rounds to get to as we are running out of time here. Next round is Kyle Schwarber of the Home Run Derby. So, Scott, you're up first for Mr. Kyle Schwarber.
Go 120.
120. Craig, what do you got?
Oh, I'm going to cut that in half. I'll say 60.
60. All right. Joel, what do you have?
95.
95. Rick, what do you have for Mr. Kyle Schwarber?
70.
Should be higher.
70 for Rick.
I think
And
I'm the only one
Jen,
that-
what do you have?
85.
85. Chris, what do you have Kyle Schwarber?
We're not including like the contracts that like his current contract he's in the
This
total,
is
right?
just through 2020.
No.
Okay.
Or sorry, 2022. I've
I will
lost 2 years
say-
because of COVID. I'm sorry.
What's the lowest bid? Because I think I'm finally the last bid.
The
so I may
lowest
have to-
bid is 60, and you are not last. Andrew is behind you.
Okay, well, Andrew, I just showed my cards, so 59 and a half.
59 and a half.
Well, why would I do that? Why would I do that?
I don't know.
That was a terrible strategy.
You've really painted yourself
Trying to be
into a
funny, and
very
then it came out of my
specific-
mouth.
Did the
and I'm like,
Jedi
what-
mind trick?
Now
to
it's
make
gotta be-
the
yeah.
All right, Andrew.
F myself.
Andrew, what do you got?
61.
61. All right. Everybody is over, so let's guess again.
See,
I was going
trying-
off his
See, that's how
80 million.
stupid I am.
I just signed 4 years, 80 million. So I was.
I had no
including that,
chance of
but-
winning
All
whatsoever.
right. So we're going to go again with Scott. Everybody has to be under 59 and a half.
I know where I screwed up is I was counting all of his money he just made, and that hasn't been received yet. Okay, let's go 25 million.
25. That is under. Craig.
4-0.
4-0.
Sure.
Sorry, what was Craig?
Yeah, 4-0. Yeah, 40 million. Yeah.
Okay. Joel, what do you got?
35.
35. Rick?
When you said it was under, were you talking about a specific bid or under his previous bid?
I'll never tell.
Okay. Then I'll do a $1.
$1. $1 for Rick. All right. $1. Jen, what do you got?
22.
22. Chris?
29.
29. And Andrew, what do you have? Kyle Schwarber.
What is the lowest bid? Or sorry, what is the highest bid?
Highest is 40. Lowest is $1.
So 39 and a half is what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go with 41. I feel.
41. All right. The correct number for Kyle Schwarber is 40 million.
Ooh.
So,
Wow.
and yes, Scott,
On
he
the
is owed
bullet.
60 million over the next 3 years of his deal, but those do not count for today's fun game. So,
Are we
Craig,
counting his draft bonus?
you know what? We're counting whatever Spotrac wants us to count. Craig was closest by getting it exactly right, but he's already won. Joel is the next runner-up, but he's already won. Down the list, then we got Chris is the next runner-up. So, Chris, the floor is yours with 29 million.
Are you shocked that I'm the one that didn't win? Oh man, I'm really bad at reading emails, so I don't have any pre-prepared questions. Do you think Schneider will have any opportunity if they dismiss any coaching staff? Do you think Schneider has any chance to separate himself from other guys like Walker and Martinez and that, or do you think they're all one group? There's my question. I don't know.
I think it depends on if they make the playoffs or not. Kind of what you guys have been saying. Like, if they make it or not, will he have the say so? I think if they don't make it, then maybe they wipe the coaching staff and let him choose.
That's really interesting because if some of our assertions are correct about the reason they moved on from Montoyo being that they truly viewed Schneider as an asset and other teams going after him, maybe he is separated a little bit from the coaching staff. And maybe the record doesn't matter that much. Maybe they might give him a chance to bring his own guys in. Who knows? But
X factor here, because Pete Walker has survived different regimes. Incredible. That you don't see that.
He has.
I have a feeling, knowing Atkins and Shapiro, they'll sign him right now for 3 years, and then they'll make a decision in about 6 months.
On a Tuesday.
Extension, fire.
Or a Wednesday, sorry. I'd be interested in seeing if there are any real tangible changes under Schneider, right? And whether or not he sort of sets himself apart from what's already been happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the one hand, when you bring in a new manager, there's the potential for that manager to bring in, his team, so to speak, right? But because Schneider is born and bred Blue Jays, like, this is his Rolodex, right? Like, he doesn't have, if we're getting rid of Pete Walker and Guillermo Martinez and the rest, who's John Schneider going to call? Right? Ghostbusters.
I think that.
Thank you, Rick.
Hate that entered all of our heads.
We all were thinking it. Absolutely.
Well, I think that's right. Yeah, he doesn't have a big Rolodex. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, are there guys, like Dave Hudgens came from the Astros? There are guys, there's like sort of small places where maybe you could see a little bit of movement. But yeah, it would be if they kept him and if they decided to make some changes on the coaching staff. Yeah, that'd be surprised. I mean, Casey Candell. I don't know what the relationship between him and Schneider is. Like they've never really, as far as I know, haven't worked together. But he's also a guy that everybody, all the players who played, come through Buffalo seem to really like. So, yeah, that could be very interesting. We'll see. But I think everybody else is also right that, like, yeah, if things continue to like go sideways, like, you could see wholesale changes. Just because that's a tough one for if Atkins doesn't make big changes in the offseason after doing this, and then we're here at the same spot next year, having the same conversations, then it's on them, and then that's they've got some real insulation right now, but it's fraying like Hyunjin Ryu's elbow ligaments, unfortunately for them.
Well, we are in the third year of this podcast existing, and I think for all 3 seasons, I've been a believer in the Shapiro-Atkins team. But now I believe in this next 3-week window, it is time to put up or shut up, and I think I really need to see what Atkins is capable of. I mean, anybody can sign someone in the offseason, but he's got to really pull something out of his ass here and make some big moves, and trades are a lot harder to do than just signing a free agent. So we'll see. All right. Final round. This is a fun one.
I hate to do this, by the way.
You're bailing, Scott.
I am bailing. I gotta go. My sister and my mom are here. I'm in Halifax on tour right now, and so
Can you just get your quick bid in on this last one? I'll let you go first. How's that sound?
Okay, sure.
And then you can take off.
It'll probably be 9.
You can do decimals. I'll say that. Okay. The player that we're bidding on is Bradley Zimmer of the Toronto Blue Jays.
How many major league seasons has he played?
0.
He has played
0.
This is his 6th major league season.
I'll go 1 million.
1 million for Scott.
All right, that's Scott. A dumb. Damn it. All right, later, gang.
All right, see you, Scott. Thanks for joining us. All right, next up, Bradley Zimmer. Craig, you're on the clock.
I will say that to be a big leaguer, Bradley Zimmer has had to pay out of pocket $2.5 million.
Minus 2.5. Okay, Joel, what do you got?
If it's more than $1.05, I'll be surprised. League minimum times 6. Can I just put that into my calculator?
What's that? 1.8-ish?
Just so I can win.
Let's go 3.6.
3.6. All right, Rick, what do you got for Bradley Zimmer?
4.
4 million. Jen?
Yeah, I was gonna go 4. I'll go 2.5.
2.5. All right, Chris, what do you got for Bradley Zimmer?
2.9.
2.9. And Andrew Stoughton, what do you got?
3.
3 even. The correct number from Bradley Zimmer is $5.1 million. Big 1.3 from the Blue Jays this year to bring that number up. So, Rick, you're the closest with 4, and the floor is yours.
You guys are going to hate this topic, and I don't know if you've done it, but I did a video recently on the greatest seasons a hitter has ever had in the major leagues for my TikTok. Barry Bonds in 2004. I want to know, do you think steroids allegations tarnish these numbers? And does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? And will he eventually be elected?
So many questions here. Oof,
Sorry, I went last, so I was thinking about him.
I like it.
He's getting Hall of Fame this December. The Veterans Committee will write this complete.
So yeah, take that one out because it pretty much answers itself. So just the first 2. Do you think steroids tarnish his numbers? And do you think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame?
1,000% yes. No one has ever been able to answer me this question. What could steroids possibly have to do with squaring up a baseball? And if everybody was on steroids, then what advantage does a steroid pitcher have pitching to a steroid batter? I don't have time for steroid arguments. Barry Bonds is the greatest thing I've ever seen in the sport that we all love with an absolute passion. He was the greatest thing I've ever seen. It was a joy to watch. He's a jerk. I don't like praising Barry Bonds, but the player on the field, forget about it. Absolute Hall of Famer.
I mean, it is the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Nice Guys, right? So,
and you have cheaters already in there. I mean, clean that's in there. I mean, guys did greenies in the past. It's just the era. You know what I mean? The era was a steroid era. To Craig's point, pitchers did it too. It was steroid against steroid at that point. And baseball turned a blind eye because it was increasing ratings, and now they want to chastise them for doing it.
I think to me that's always been the big thing is that baseball turned a blind eye and then trying to scapegoat a couple individuals for what the entire industry allowed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Has never sat right with me. To say, I mean, we could parse the language of are his numbers tarnished? Like, I mean, I think he put up some better numbers because of that, but but also he 100% should be in the Hall of Fame, and that's to me, it's not even a question. I think it's shameful to everybody who's kept him out forever, and Bud Selig in particular, and all the backroom garbage that happens with that. Like, look at his baseball reference page. It's like it will blow your mind.
You've never seen that much bold.
Crazy.
a lot of bold.
Hardcore to keep him out because they hate the steroid. Take that as read. Barry Bonds will forever have that asterisk. Everybody will forever know that he played in that era. So these numbers, no one's ever going to look at those numbers on paper. You're never going to be walking in Cooperstown and see Barry Bonds' numbers and just be blown away and not know that something might have been up, that something might have been up. Even the ones
and we already for like Babe Ruth never played against a black player.
Yep.
And we all can contextualize that, right? You know, like anybody pre Jackie Robinson, pre 1947, like how is that not an even worse asterisk than, you know? I think it's absurd.
It is supposed to mean something to get into the Hall of Fame, but it's also just still part of an entertainment product, right? So, like, why do we have to? Like, why is there as much gatekeeping as there is when it comes to things like that? He was good for baseball at the time. He was great for baseball at the time. Baseball profited off of that. So, you know, you want to write your little blurb about the era and so on and so forth. Cool. Go right ahead. It's part of baseball history. So put it in there.
So it's like you've got all the eras, right? You've got like pre-integration and the golden era, and they name them all, right? They name all those time periods for the eras. What do you call 88 to 2005? What would you call that era? It would be called the steroid era. So it's just like, if that's the entire era, it's not like the steroid guy. He wasn't the guy. He was a one guy doing it who just did it. It's all of his peers did it, and all of his peers widely consider him a Hall of Famer, you know, even before he started doing it. And I always think about how Bonds did it almost in a way to, like, when you think about Bonds, everybody laughed, and then Bonds was like, I'm going to show you what a real Major League Baseball player looks like, as opposed to guys who are just juiced up and swinging for the fences. I'm going to show you what the best eye is like on this stuff. And then it got to the point where it was this negative, and it was like, oh my God, what's happening? He started snapping, and half the population died. And we got to the point where the government had to step in. So
that's great.
Yeah,
Joel.
right. Like so
great Thanos reference for those who didn't get it.
And so I don't know. He kind of led to its destruction at the end, because you were seeing something that was so beyond the game that he made us all aware that this could get to a point where it was what it was. So yeah.
And it's also absurd how this has been brought up, but like how we have these notions. Oh, these guys. This guy was clean. These guys weren't, and it's like it's all based on absolutely nothing that none of us know. It's like you you let them play the game, and they should be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, here I'll make it individual and personal. Foreign substance last year was about 60% of the league. None of those guys were cheating. None of those guys are not going to the Hall. Garrett Cole strikes out 300,000 guys, is going to the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
So like we just saw guys cheating to get that type of advantage. And so it's all about the way that it's attacked by Major League Baseball, right? Because we've seen that type of cheating in just 2 years ago. So.
And you don't want kids using spider tack. Like your car keys get stuck to your hand. It's like you could think of like the slippery slope of things that would go wrong if we let kids use spider tack.
His 2004 on base percentage is insane. I mean, it's like video game numbers. I mean, you're talking about 609 on base percentage. We consider 4 good. You know what I mean? 400 good. He had 609. I mean, that's insane. He was getting on base 60% of the time. He was batting. I mean,
and that doesn't have anything to do with steroids.
Yeah, yes, to her point, eye coordination, nothing to do with steroids whatsoever. 100%.
350 on bat. He'd have like a 350 on base percentage without swinging.
Yeah, yep. That was the other thing. If you take his 677 plate appearances and divide his walks, 232, you're looking at a 377 on base percentage without even hitting.
Without ever swinging the bat.
Yeah, you could just sit there. That's insane. I mean, like I said,
which is better than Ortiz.
Yep. Ortiz, yeah. Don't get me started.
All right, we all get it. Barry Bonds was pretty good at baseball. We do got to get out of here. I know we're already over time, so a big thanks to everybody for all their extra time. I just need to say my talking point for the day, and you can each jump in with one sentence about it. Happy birthday to my dad. So as cheesy as that is, if everybody wants to wish my dad a happy birthday, Chris is saying, nope, I'm not going to do it.
No, I'm saying that's not cheesy at all, man. Right. Happy birthday to your dad. You wish him his happy birthday as many times as you can.
Yep. Thank you very much. Love my dad, so thanks to that.
That's a great
early days of the podcast, he was our only listener for a long time, I'm sure of it. So thank you to my dad. Okay, let's go around and say goodbye to everybody, and we'll see you all very soon. Thanks to everybody on YouTube for sitting along with us and going long tonight. So let's start at the bottom of the screen here with Rick. Rick, thank you so much. Where can people find more of you? What are you working on?
Same thing. It's just TikTok, Rick Talks Baseball. My sunglass video did make it, so if you want a good laugh, it is published now. Go ahead and check it out. It is pinned at the top, so give it a look. And that's about it. Just doing the usual stuff on there. A lot of older historic stuff, but trying to do some of the new stuff also.
Very, very cool. All right, Joel, also with TikTok, you know him as Hey Commie. Your movie's got to be getting close.
Oh, yeah. It's wrapped. It's wrapped. It's in editing. And they showed me the first 45 seconds of the first episode edited, because it's kind of this compilation of all the actors coming in rapid fire, but it's nice to see the pieces coming in slowly. Cool. I don't get to put my hands onto the editing really, so I just have to sit back and watch as pieces come in.
Very cool. Looking forward to it. All right, Jen, our Iron Man. Where can people find more of Jen?
I had a message today that today is my 9th anniversary on Twitter, apparently. So I don't know what I've been doing with the last 9 years of my life, but you can find me at baseball_Jen, and that is Jen with 2 N's.
Very cool. All right, Craig, sorry for the terrible intro today. You were a last-minute addition, but we're glad that you were able to make it. Hopefully you're able to join us more again. What are you working on? Where can people find more of Craig Ballard?
Last and certainly least, I wouldn't recommend looking for me. I'll tell you that right now. I would certainly recommend the Walkoff podcast as a must. Joel and Rick on TikTok as a must. Everybody on this panel, Andrew and Chris, knock it out the park on a regular basis with Blue Jay content. If you're a Blue Jay fan, I'll shout it from the rooftops. The Walkoff podcast, we're talking a must.
Very kind. Thank you so much. All right, Chris, Jay's Journal, where can people get more of you? Obviously, there's a lot more to be had.
Well said. If you want to find me on Twitter, I'm at baseball4brains. The 4 is a number, so baseball number 4 brains. And as I always say, feel free to read my stuff, and more importantly, check out the young writers that we always have at Jay's Journal. I always like to see kids that are coming out of college, guys that are loving to jump into the whole writing game, and there's lots of good voices there.
Very cool. Thank you. And Andrew Stoughton, where can people find more of you?
You can find me at Andrew Stoughton on Twitter. Apologies if I've already blocked you. That happens a lot. I'm not as combative as I used to be. Also, on Substack, you can find me at thebatflip.ca, which is my Substack site. I generally write about the Toronto Blue Jays, even though I've taken way longer than I should have to process the being exceptionally wrong about whether the Jays would fire Charlie Montoyo or not.
All right. Thank you very much to everybody on the panel. Thanks for everybody for watching. Enjoy your All-Star break. Congratulations to all those kids at the All-Star game, and we'll catch you next week. Cheers.